Hello, scorekeepers. Today I want to show you something really cool. It's the College Board's official practice question bank. This resource is amazing. These are the best practice questions that you can find for your SAT prep. This resource is free and it's totally accessible. I'm always kind of surprised how many of my students don't actually know about this. And a lot of them who do know about it don't really know how to use it properly to get the most out of it and to really maximize the productivity when it comes to their SAT prep. So let me show you this. So this thing is really easy. You just go to Google. I wrote in SAT question bank. It's that easy. I'm gonna hit enter and we're gonna go. Okay, so here we have the SAT Suite question bank. It's the very first thing that comes up. I'm going to click it. And this is where we're going to want to be. I'm going to make myself a little smaller so I'm not covering as much as the screen. It says Educator Question Bank. Don't be weirded out by that. I know you're probably a student, not an educator, but this is where you want to be. So you're going to hit Find Questions, and then you're going to go to Choose Assessment. And of course, we're going to hit SAT. It's going to say choose test. So you can decide if you want to practice reading and writing or if you want to practice math. Let's say we want to practice reading and writing today. And then we get to this thing called domain. So perhaps you took an SAT and you got one of those score reports, which are not all that deep, but you noticed that you were a little weak on standard English conventions. That means you were weak on the SAT's grammar and punctuation questions, just for example. So we're going to click that if that's what we want to practice today. And then we go to search, and we're going to come to this screen. And stay with me here. This is really important. When we scroll down, you're going to see that you have all these questions. And if you click on one, you're going to see over here we have a conventions of standard English question. And over here we have a correct answer. And it tells us the difficulty. It tells us the skill, which kind of have funny names. This one is boundaries, which is I guess a punctuation. Here's the best way to use this, and this is super important. Before you do anything, when you're doing your SAT prep, it is really important that you correctly use the resources. So we have this, and then we have the official College Board practice tests. Now we're going to want to use those practice tests to get benchmark scores along the way as we prep for the SAT. So what that means is when you sign into Blue Book and take a practice SAT, which are also free, by the way, you want to do it under real testing conditions. You want to make sure that every question that pops up on the screen is something new and is really testing how you're doing and testing those skills. So when you get that score, you know exactly where you stand. The reason I'm talking about this is, well, let me show you. When you get to this screen, I want to show you this box. It says exclude active questions. Now look, here we have all of the conventions of standard English reading and writing questions that the College Board has ever written. And there's 327 of them. At least that's what they've made available to us. I guess they've written more, but this is what's available to us. Now, we don't want to use all those because some of those are going to appear on official SAT practice tests, which if we look at them now when we're just doing informal practice and we're building our skills, well, then we get an incorrect benchmark score when we sit down and really take a practice test under real testing conditions. So watch that number. When I click this box, exclude active question, that number jumps down to 90. What this means is there are 90 questions here that don't appear on any official College Board practice tests. When you are working on skills, let's say you have just learned some of your comma rules and you want to see if you can recognize these, and you're not on the clock and you're not doing an official practice test, this is where to go. These 90 questions, make sure you click that box that says exclude active questions, because you can use these to ponder each question and look at each question after you do it and see what's going on with, say, the commas or the semicolons or the apostrophes or whatever skill it is that you're working on that day. Now, let me show you how this works. Once you get here and you've picked your skill, you can sort by difficulty. Honestly, I think it's a little arbitrary what the College Board thinks is easy, medium, and hard. Sometimes me and my students disagree with what they say. So you can do just hard ones. I suggest not. I suggest doing all of them. They have these weird names: boundaries, form, structure, sense. You don't have to sink too deeply into that on the reading and writing, at least. Definitely hit the box, exclude active questions. Don't worry about the state standards. That is not something that you need to be worrying about right now. It is not really at all relevant to you if you're prepping for the SAT. And then you want to pick your questions. Now, I say you pick them blind. If you want to look at each question first, you can, and you're going to kind of see the answer. I find that a little difficult. So I say, okay, today I'm going to do the first page. So I'm just going to click. Maybe I'm going to do the first 5. So I'm going to click these 5, and I have a variety. The 3 blue boxes here means the College Board thinks that's a difficult question. The 1 box means that the College Board thinks it's an easy question. I have a variety of difficulties. I have a medium one here. So here's my set that I'm going to use to practice, because I just maybe read a little bit or watched a video on comma rules. I'm going to go to export and watch. This is a little tip that I want to give you. Hit no correct answers or explanations. Of course, in fact, you can even hit without answers or headers. And you click that box and you click export PDF. And you can print the PDF if you'd like. You can save the PDF to your device for later, and you can just hit save. That is up to you. But if you don't ever want to print it, you can just save it and then open it in some sort of PDF viewer. But this is how it works. You're going to have them all here. Here's the 5 questions that we picked, so you can save them to your device. I'm not going to actually do that right now, but you should. Then, before you close out anything and go do them, I suggest that you then download the same set again, but you click with correct answers and explanations. And again, you hit export. And again, you save it as a PDF. So now, as you can see, I have the question, I have the answer, I have the explanations. The explanations aren't great, but this will allow you, when all is said and done, to take the set of questions and then score yourself, and then really dig into reflecting on missed questions and troublesome questions, and looking through the right answer and seeing why exactly it right, what concrete reason is there why that right answer is right. And that's going to help you start to see the traps and see your mistakes, and then not make them moving forward. This is a great resource. It is free. You definitely always want to hit exclude active questions. You can go back. You could do math. I'll show you the math before we leave. You have, again, the ability to search by domain. So you could go, if you took an SAT already, and look at a score report and see what domain was your strongest and what domain is your weakest. I suggest practicing both always. Let's say I want to do geometry today and trigonometry, so I can go to search, and first thing I'm always going to do is hit exclude active questions. Right now, I have 221 questions. We don't actually have that. Okay, now I have 94. And what's nice about the math is the skills are a little bit more differentiated. So let's say today I memorized the circle formula, which, by the way, you should have on lockdown going into the SAT. Have that circle formula memorized. There are certain math concepts that you need when you walk in the door to that SAT. So if I want to practice circles, I could click this. And again, I can make myself a question set. And if I want to spice it up with, I could pick 2 difficult. Here's an easy. This is a medium. Here's another medium. I could go to the next page. I could click an easy one, and then I can go and export. And again, going to export it without answers or headers. And I can print it, or I can save it as a PDF. And here's my questions right here. I'm going to actually not download it right now, but you should. And then I'm going to do the same thing with the answers. Before I even go take those questions, I'm going to have the answers on layaway. And here they are. And I'm not going to really look too deeply at them because I want to go do these questions. But then I would save that, and I'd have both on my computer. This is how you work on skills. So if you watch a video on the circle formula and how it's used on the SAT, or if you've read a review book, or if you just had an instructional session with me or with anybody, this is the best thing you can do to then see that formula in action. Or if you just learned commas, you can then see those comma rules in action on official College Board written SAT questions. This allows us to practice these before we then go into Blue Book and on the clock take a practice test. So you want to practice with this off the clock, and you want to score yourself when you want to dig into the troublesome questions. And then you go to Blue Book and you open up an official SAT practice test. You take that test on the clock, full test, real testing conditions, and then you get a benchmark score. And you can then target your prep moving forward before your actual official SAT. I hope this makes sense, scorekeepers. Remember, it is your score. Happy prepping.